7th meeting of the Nixa City Council. Call the meeting to order.
Kelly Morris.
Here.
Sean Lucas.
Here.
Aaron Peterson.
Here.
Darlene Graham.
Here.
Zern Vess.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda? And would anyone like anything removed? We'll also add that we are moving the police department promotion recognition to the next meeting due to scheduling issues. So outside of that, nothing, I will accept a motion.
So made. Second.
First by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mr. Vess. Roll call, please.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Zern Vess.
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Aaron Peterson.
Yes.
All right, looks like we have a couple service awards tonight. And first up is Sam Gallardo, 5 years with the police department.
Mayor, Council, we have Sam here with us tonight, and I'd like to read what was written by some of our staff in relation to this 5-year service award. We proudly recognize Corporal Gallardo for 5 years of dedicated and exceptional service to the Nixa Police Department. Throughout his tenure, Corporal Gallardo has consistently demonstrated professionalism, leadership, and unwavering commitment to excellence. During his time with the department, he has served on the Nixa Emergency Tactical Team in multiple key roles, including operator, assistant team leader, and now team leader. His dedication to personal development and training is evident in the countless hours he has devoted to mastering his craft and mentoring others. Recently assigned to the training unit, Corporal Gallardo has excelled in preparing and guiding newly hired officers. His ability to share knowledge and expertise continues to have a lasting impact on the department's future. In recognition of his outstanding performance and contributions, Corporal Gallardo was named the 2024 Officer of the Year. His nomination reflects widespread respect for his dedication, professionalism, and leadership. He has further demonstrated his commitment to professional growth by earning certificates in less lethal instructor, firearms instructor, and by completing instructor-level development training. These achievements underscore not only his personal pursuit of excellence, but his deep dedication to development of his fellow officers. We thank Corporal Gallardo for 5 years of exceptional service and look forward to his continued impact in the years ahead.
We get to do this again.
Okay, I cannot get into my computer. Tell me. You try that one. Popped right up at home. It's in over here. Okay, let's try this now.
And next up, I don't believe he's here, but we have Eric Wolf, 5 years with the Nixa Police Department.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, Eric could not be here tonight. He's in Texas picking up his daughter for the summer, so he was out of state. But we do have something nice to say for Corporal Wolf as well. Corporal Wolf is recognized for his 5 years of dedicated service to the Nixa Police Department. He is currently assigned to the Operations Bureau. Recently, he was promoted to the rank of corporal. He now serves as the assistant SWAT team leader and successfully has completed NTO team leader training school. In addition to his leadership roles, Corporal Wolf is a certified instructor in defensive tactics, as well as chemical and impact munitions. He consistently demonstrates reliability and willingly covers shifts as needed and is regarded as an outstanding employee and team member. His commitment, professionalism, and versatility are commendable assets to our department. Thank you, Corporal Wolf.
And the next one, 20 years of Clay Robertson with wastewater.
I'm not Clay, by the way, but Clay couldn't be here tonight. He had a prior engagement to do, but Clay started out at the wastewater treatment plant. In fact, he took my position when I transferred up to the water. So he spent 10 years down there honing his skills and stuff, and then decided to kind of step up and take care of stuff on the collection side. So we moved him up to 1010, and now he takes care of all our grease traps inspections, make sure all our lift stations are up and going, and keeps everything clean and motivated pretty good. Clay's pretty good hand. He shows up every day, he does what he's told, and we've not had much trouble out of him. So there you go.
Thank you. All right. This next one's pretty cool, by the way. Miss Cindy Robbins recently received the Richard R. Knoll Award. I believe Mr. Lyles wanted to say a couple things about that.
Absolutely. First, I'll give Mayor and Council just a little bit of background on the award that Cindy received. The Richard R. Knoll Outstanding Assistant Award is given out by the Missouri City Managers Association to one person a year, and requires actually 2 levels of criteria to be met by the nominee. The first is what's called the eligibility criteria, which states the nominee must hold an administrative position that's responsible for assisting the Chief Administrative Officer in carrying out various administrative duties, included but not limited to personnel, administrative, staff support to support to various boards and committees, budgetary preparation, and many other research projects as required. Of course, the nominee must be in their current position for a minimum of 2 years. And the second selection criteria is that the nominee must exhibit leadership traits in his or her organization and within the community. The nominee must also accept increasing responsibility and exhibit personal and professional growth through the implementation of management and coordination of policies, programs, and projects. It may also be must also be active in professional organizations, committees, task force, and et cetera. And I think that once those criteria are met, I know that the award goes to a nomination committee, and then that committee selects who's going to receive the nomination for the state of Missouri or the award for the state of Missouri that year. And I think that we can all agree that the nomination committee made the excellent choice this year by awarding Cindy Robbins as this year's recipient of the Richard R. Knoll Outstanding Assistant Award. And just to give a few words about what they stated, and it said that Cindy was hired by the city of Nixa in 1989, where she served as a deputy city clerk, utility billing supervisor, and city clerk, and of course, most recently, the assistant city administrator. Cindy's also currently the longest serving employee for the city of Nixa. She serves on multiple boards, including the Nixa Area Chamber of Commerce, Ozarks Area Community Action Corporation, or as we know as OCAC. Also serves the city's representative for the Southwest Missouri Council of Governments, or SIMCOG, as we often refer that to. And so also MCMA also recognized her work in founding what we have the LEAD program for the city of Nixa, which actually kind of spurred off 2 separate events that were both very popular. One of those being Cocoa with the Community that we also celebrate along with the mayor's tree lighting, and also the other being the Multicultural Festival, which continues to grow leaps and bounds every single year. So I think we can all agree that, like I said before, they made a fantastic choice in awarding that award to Cindy Robbins this year. So please join me in congratulating Cindy for that award.
Actually, Mr. Jeff Belcher said it best when I ran into him one time after he had had a conversation with you, and he said she is the Swiss Army knife of Nixa. Literally can do just about everything, and she's kind of been my search engine, really. You're my Google when it comes to Nixa, and has been helpful in just about everything I could think of. She also took on an additional role that wasn't really mentioned, which was the business liaison role. And that's one thing that has been extremely helpful. I had an individual reach out to me saying he wanted to open a business, and he was asking me all sorts of questions, and I was like, I might give you the wrong answer, so here's who you need to call. And it was the next day, and he said he had everything set up, good to go, and she was the best person I probably could have sent him to. So, you know, you just continue to amaze all of us. So we appreciate you very much. All right. Yeah.
Oh, and if anyone wasn't able to make the award event, I do have a video of her getting her award, surprise award presentation. So if anyone wants to see that, I've got that for you.
Yeah, definitely want to see that. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to go down there and watch. Well, let's keep the fun going with the visitor section.
Ron Sanders.
Good evening, Mr. Sanders.
Well, howdy.
Got your hair cut.
Got my hair cut. Yes, I did. Well, I'm Ron Sanders. I live here in Nixa. And before y'all came out of here, I was talking to some of these guys at these side tables trying to figure out what's been going on. And, you know, everything's been quiet in the city. It's kind of like the rain has really calmed everything down. And then I started talking to, you know, some of the other ones and realized I guess everybody's doing their job and everybody's doing a great job. So what do I have to say? What do I have to come up here and talk about? Except that, man, everybody must be doing a great job. So let me just say that. I think everybody's doing a great job. Congratulations. That's awesome. I do have one announcement. I don't know if any of y'all like to go shoot sporting clays, but the Republican Central Committee is having a Wild West shootout on the 19th of July down at the Ozark Sports Complex. 100 birds or 50 birds, your choice. And you can find the information on our website at ccrccmo.com. And I hope that some of y'all might find some interest in grabbing a shotgun and, you know, seeing if you can shoot some of those little clay pigeons that they throw around. It'll be fun. It'll probably be hot that day too, so bring something to drink. But that's all I got. Thank you, everybody, for doing a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. All right. We don't have anybody else signed up, but if anyone else would like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda, feel free to do so at this time. All right, I will close the visitor section. All right, next up, first reading Council Bill 2025-18.
First reading Council Bill number 2025-18, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa, amending Chapter 16, Article 4, Division 4, Section 16-197 and 16-200 of the Nixa City Code for the purpose of expanding the authorized period to sell and discharge fireworks. Presenting is City Administrator Jimmy Lass.
Mayor, Council, before you tonight is an ordinance to consider a change to the current ordinance that dictates the discharge of fireworks as well as the sale of fireworks. The mayor was actually contacted as well by citizens requesting that we add a day to the sale and discharge of fireworks. Currently, under the current city ordinance, the sale of fireworks can occur between June 20th and July, the sale of fireworks can occur between June 20th and July 4th between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. I got my dates wrong and my numbers wrong, so I want to apologize for that.
You're good.
Right? The sale of fireworks can go till midnight on those dates. The discharge of fireworks can go till 11 p.m. through July 4th. So the ordinance before you tonight actually changes that and changes the sale of fireworks through July 5th till midnight and changes the discharge of fireworks through July 5th until 11 p.m. So I do apologize for that mistake in my memo, so ignore the time frame, but the dates are correct. So, but Nick does have the appropriate language in the ordinance that's before you tonight. So again, to be able to do that, change would require this change in ordinance. I did visit with the chief of police as well about the impacts on the police department. And actually by extending the discharge of fireworks by a day, it actually may help with the amount of calls for service that the officers respond to, because currently, if we end on July 4th, which is this year is actually a Friday, you know that a lot of people are going to want to celebrate through the weekend. So a lot of people want to celebrate fireworks on July 5th, which is a Saturday, which they can't currently do. So then the officers would be trying to track all those violators down. So this would allow the citizens to celebrate July 4th through July 5th this year, which would be through Saturday at 11 p.m., not midnight. So be happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Any questions? So one thing on this, and because I'll explain some of the conversations that I had that led to this, that way if this brings up any other questions you might have for Mr. Lyles, we can do so. You know, having it open on that Saturday or even the day after the 4th would be very beneficial to the people selling the fireworks. And I actually got to learn a lot about the fireworks stands and the amount of actually youth in the community that they employ during this time. Some of them even sleep like there. Actually, they always have someone that's staying there 24 hours. But just the things that they do and the people they hire and everything they bring into the area just for a short amount of time, you know, giving them that extra day to be able to sell off a lot of their inventory so they don't have to keep it. That was kind of what was, I liked the idea of that, and helping them out a little bit, give them one more day to sell, which, you know, this year, and when we did have discussion about that this year with it being the 5th being on a Saturday, of course, people are going to want to shoot them off Saturday as well. And as far as, you know, going forward, you know, we'll have to look at that going forward, but I think the sell of them should always definitely be allowed on the 5th, just so they're not stuck with a whole bunch of inventory and have to sit on it. So, any other questions for Mr. Lyles or myself or anyone else? All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this, do so at this time. And I will close the public hearing. Anything else? Fair enough. All right, moving on. First reading Council Bill 2025-19.
First reading Council Bill number 2025-19, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 20, Article 7, Division 2 of the Nixa City Code by adding thereto a new section to prohibit parking across parking lines on city-owned property. Presenting is City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This bill before you this evening was generated from some conversation amongst council about people parking on municipal-owned lots across the designated parking lines. There's not really much to report on it. The title pretty much summarizes what it does. It will make it an ordinance violation if people park a vehicle across the parking lines on municipally owned parking lots. I'm available if you all have any questions. I'm happy to answer those to the extent that I can, and staff recommends approval of this item.
Any questions? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Thank you, Mr. Woodman. All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing.
Ron Sanders, one question. Will this affect or will this pertain to which way somebody parks in a parking spot? Like backing in or anything?
Nope.
In the lines.
Thank you. All right, I will leave the public hearing open if you'd like to speak on this. All right, nothing further. I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Anything else from staff? All right, fair enough. Next up, first reading Council Bill 2025-20.
First reading Council Bill number 2025-20, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the mayor to execute a water storage agreement with the Southwest Missouri Joint Municipal Water Utility Commission for the purpose of providing the city with an allocation of water from Stockton Lake. Presenting is Assistant Public Works Director Travis Cossey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight is a night I thought would never come. After 22 long years of report writing and applications, more report writing, and then studies to go on top of that that stand about that tall. On January 17th of this year, the Army Corps of Engineers officially awarded the allocation from Stockton Lake by signing the paperwork that officially authorized the use of 38 million gallons of water for the benefit of Southwest Missouri, and the water allocation that has been requested since our initial first time that we asked for it was in 2003. As a recap, in 2003, a 16-county footprint in Southwest Missouri formed an alliance known as Tri-State Water to look at securing a future water source for this area of the state. Because we are such a high-growth area, the initial studies identified that there was, in the year 2060, a gap of approximately 53 million gallons of water that were not available to support our existing and future growth. From that was born Tri-State Water, whose purpose was to secure a future water source for Southwest Missouri. After exploring several options that included multiple states, including Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, it was settled that Stockton Lake was the best and most viable option to secure a lion's share of the needed 53 million gallons. Our initial studies identified that Stockton Lake could support an additional allocation of 38 million gallons per day, which was the first allocation that we have gone after. That this brings us a long ways towards our future needed goal of 53 million gallons. Currently, there within that 16-county footprint, there are 9 organizations, including the City of Nixa, who have identified a percentage allocation based on population and based on future needs. For us, of that 38 million gallons, this contract would support the purchase of 1 million gallons, or 2,000, a little over 2,000 acre feet of water. The total allocation, 38 million gallons per day, or 90,790 acre feet, will be taking about a 2.6% stake in that water. Of that purchase price, we'll be responsible for purchasing that 1 million gallons per day, and then also included in that is a perpetual maintenance agreement for operations and maintenance of the Stockton Dam, our portion of that impoundment that the Corps of Engineers has determined that if we're taking water out of it, we'll be responsible for. Now, in order to purchase the water, Southwest Missouri Water had to form a joint municipal utility corporation, or a JMUC, in order to be the conduit for the purchase of the water, to allow these 9 entities to subcontract with JMUC to allow for the purchase of the water from the lake. The Corps of Engineers would only contract with one organization. In this case, we formed JMUC through Southwest Missouri Water, which will be that conduit for purchasing the entire 38 million. What is before you tonight is a sub-allocation contract that the City of Nixa will be entering into with JMUC to allow us to pay our proportionate share of that 1 million, of that 38 million, for a total allocation of 1 million gallons per day. We have also worked with the Department of Natural Resources to secure a SRF funding to allow for the JMUC to take a loan out from the state revolving fund on a 30-year note to allow us to pay back that allocation request over a 30-year period. So what does this mean for the City of Nixa? What this means for the City of Nixa is that we have an estimated payment of just over $53,000 a year for the next 30 years. Initially, when this first started, if you'll remember, in February of 2023, Council was asked to pass a resolution for a memorandum of understanding to provide the Corps of Engineers with a level of confidence that the 9 organizations were serious about taking this allocation. At that time, we had not gotten the funding through DNR yet. DNR graciously kicked in a portion of that funding. At the time that you signed the MOU, as you recall, our anticipated our yearly payment over that 30-year period was going to be $175,000. DNR has graciously given us a reduced rate and also kicked in some money to afford some of the upfront costs, which has reduced our yearly payment amount from $175,000 to roughly $53,000. That $53,000 will be paid over a full 30-year period. At the end of that 30-year period, we will own that 1 million gallon per day allocation. However, we will still be responsible in perpetuity for that maintenance and that maintenance aspect of our portion of that allocation out of the Stockton Lake impound. For the city of Nixa, that perpetual payment is estimated to be $10,655 in perpetuity, which will be our year-over-year cost for our proportion, our percentage share of the operations and maintenance of the Stockton Lake impound. This rate structure was anticipated. We were anticipating that in some point in the near future that we were going to have this allocation. The water rate study that you passed and the existing rate structure that we did adopt 2 years ago did include this anticipated cost, so this is not an additional cost above and beyond our anticipated operations. The money for this year's payment was funded in the budget to afford it. One thing I do need to mention is that in Section 1 of your ordinance, it includes language stating that the final contract will be substantially similar to the ordinance in which you are being asked to approve. The purpose for this and the reason for this is there are a couple sections of the contract that cannot be filled in until the Corps of Engineers finalizes the contract with JMUT. One being the date of execution of the contract with the Corps of Engineers. The other is the exact amount of acre feet and allocation that the Corps of Engineers has done. At the time that they actually sign the contract, they'll be doing a final water accounting formula, which is included under Exhibit A. They'll be running through that model one last time to get a date and time reference for how the impoundment is operating and how much allocation. Now, this will not make a substantial difference to the contract. We're talking about a plus or minus 1% difference in the allocation that has been granted from the Corps of Engineers. But they will not finalize that contract till they know exactly how many entities and how much those entities are going to take before they'll go through that final accounting formula. So I do need to mention that the authorization is to allow the city administrator to execute that contract as long as it is substantially similar to the contract in which is being presented for you. Those final numbers, like I said, they'll wiggle up and down a little bit, but not substantially. They're expecting at or less than a plus or minus 1% difference, which for us is 2.6% of the 1% of the 38 million. I don't know how that works, but it's really small. So that's where we're at tonight. I tried to go just real briefly, 22 years of history. So if anybody has any specific question, I know there's a lot of moving parts in this and a lot going on, but we're real excited to be able to finally secure this water. And this is phase 1. This will allow us to move into phase 2, which will be as an organization, that organization being Southwest Missouri Water. We'll start working diligently to figure out how to get that water from that Stockton Lake impoundment to the 16-county area that will be taking the water.
Did any of the counties or any of the municipalities in the counties who were originally going to be involved in this back out at any point, or is everyone still?
Everybody is still in. Unfortunately, no one backed out. We were actually hopeful someone would back out because although 1 million gallons is a lot of water, it does not fill our entire need. So anybody who was going to back out was going to create a feeding frenzy from the other jurisdictions that were still in. And at one point, it looked like Moam over in Joplin might actually be backing out. which their application was roughly 16 million gallons a day. So we had some very spirited conversations as an organization on how that was going to be divvied up to the others. But at the last minute, they came in and said, no, we need to take our allocation. At this point, especially after DNR participated, it becomes the cheapest water we'll ever buy. Where it's roughly 13 cents per 1,000 gallon, and that price will never change. So in the year 2060, when we're charging at that point, I don't know how much per 1,000, this water will still be 13 cents per gallon, or per 1,000. So most of the organizations realize the benefit of this and the asset in which they would be purchasing. So unfortunately, no one backed out. I wish
Darn.
someone had.
Any other questions?
You had stated that is it the infrastructure or the route or however it's be determined to get the water here that's still not quite completed or worked out or?
Yes, not completed. We've been working through some modeling on it. This contract just purchases the water from the Corps of Engineers. The next stage in the process that we'll be working towards after this is executed is how are we going to get the water from Stockton Lake to the city of Nixa. For us, fortunately, Nixa, Ozark, and Springfield, it's a relatively simpler process than, say, Joplin or Carthage or Moam over on the far west side of the state. Because the city of Springfield already has an allocation, they received a 12 million gallon per day allocation back in 1996 from Stockton Lake. They already have a backbone infrastructure that transfers water from Stockton Lake into Fellows Lake. At the time, they purchased enough easement and right-of-way to allow for additional piping to be installed. So our current theory that we're working with, Mr. Peterson, is that we'll be utilizing that backbone infrastructure at the city of Springfield. We'll be installing to get water to city utilities. At that point, we will most likely be paying the city of Springfield to treat that water because we're 100% ground source supported right now. We do not have a water treatment facility. The city of Springfield does because they use a combination of groundwater and surface water. So the water will be brought down to Springfield. We will enter into another contract with the city of Springfield to treat that water. And then from there, the current theory is that we'll bring a water line down Highway 160 somewhere down towards at the river, and it will split, and one leg of it will go to Nixa, and one leg of it will go to Ozark. And then from there, we'll buy our proportionate share. There's still a lot of details to be worked out in that, but that's the current theory. And there's a separate water outtake and piping structure that will also head west over to the Carthage, Dade County, Joplin area. But that'll be a whole separate contract that we won't be involved in. There'll be basically two spurs, one to get it to directly south to the Springfield and the Springfield metro area, and the other spur will be get to the far west.
So we'll still have to build that from here to Springfield, basically.
Correct, yes. Yeah, we'll be participating in a portion of that construction as well because we'll have a percentage take of that water. We're at 1 million gallons. Ozark is at 1.5 million gallons per day. And city utilities, where are they at? City utilities is taking an additional 12 million gallons per day. So we'll have our proportionate share of that water transfer from Stockton down. But those are all DOTs we'll be working on over the next 22 years.
Have you put any rough numbers to it? Is it
No, at this
10
point,
million, 100 million, or a billion?
it won't be cheap. It won't be cheap. Our portion will be a lot smaller than, say, the west side. But no, Mr. Vest, we haven't even put numbers to it. We've just been talking theory on how to get it down because until the Corps of Engineers actually signed off on the allocation, there wasn't much desire to move forward with studies and engineering necessary to get the water down until we knew that we had secured that allocation. So that work's going to begin pretty quick.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Another one of those things I never thought I'd learn about, and I sat through like a whole day class about this, so. All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. All right, next up, second reading Council Bill 2025-14.
Second reading Council Bill number 2025-14, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 2 of the Nixa City Code by adding thereto a new section to provide authority to the city administrator for the settlement of certain claims. Presenting is City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. We had first reading on this bill and a staff presentation at the May 13th, 2025 meeting. If approved, this bill would authorize the city administrator to settle claims which do not exceed $15,000 without council approval. I'm available if you have any questions about that, and can recommend that staff recommends approval of the bill.
Any questions? Fair enough. Thank you, sir. All right, no other questions. I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? If not, I will accept a motion.
I make the motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mrs. Morris. Roll call, please.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Zern Vest,
No.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, next up, Council Bill 2025-15.
Second reading Council Bill number 2025-15, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 14 of the Nixa City Code for the purpose of providing more efficiency to the enforcement of tall grass violations and administrative hearings related to nuisances. Presenting is City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Hello again. Similar story as the last item. We had a first reading and a staff presentation at the last meeting. And if approved, the core of this bill, it would change the current city code to only require the holding of an administrative hearing for tall weed nuisance cases at the request of the property owner or the tenant. Current code doesn't provide that, that waiver, so we're trying to add that to the existing code. Staff recommends approval, and I'm available for any questions.
You had said something about this, but how many people just over the past maybe year or two have actually wanted a hearing?
The only data I have on that on the top of my head is from last year, and of the hearings that were held, because we have to hold them regardless if the property owner or the tenant wants them under the current code, there was no attendance from any of the property owners or the tenants for weed abatement hearings.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. If you would like to speak on this.
It's a bit of a story time here. I read through it real quick and got me to thinking about something. You know, somebody out there can't get their grass cut for whatever reason, and then, you know, the code enforcement guy gets notified and he goes out there and he writes up the citation or whatever paperwork needs to be done, and then starts this whole process. Well, in another jurisdiction, someone who was in this situation finally found a good Samaritan to cut their grass and clean up the area. And the police came by and said, I'm sorry, but if you do that, you're obstructing government operations, because the process had already started for the city to come in and cut the grass and all of that, and then charge the homeowner for the cutting of the grass and everything. So my question, and what I think everybody should look at, what are the unintended consequences once the ball gets rolling and government decides to do something to somebody. It becomes really, really not good, not pleasant. And for grass cutting and stuff like that, that should be one of the last things that government should be getting involved in. And I understand why it has to happen. You know, I've had to go talk to people about cutting their grass myself. But at the same time, what happens once the government gets involved? Once the government gets involved, how easy is it to unplug the government and say, oh, okay, we don't need to do this no more because they found a solution? I think that a hearing, even if nobody shows up, it kind of solidifies the government's stance that, hey, I've given this person every legal remedy, including a hearing, and whatever happens after this happens. But without that hearing, without mandating that hearing, you're kind of opening it up to that, hey, let's go find some grass that we need to cut as a city. And then it starts. And then once it starts, you have somebody saying, well, geez, that's pretty good revenue for the city. And then the police are out there, hey, we need to protect this revenue for the city. You can't cut that grass for free because the city's already got it under contract with that guy. And if you cut it, it's going to screw the city over, regardless of whether you get to do it for free or not. So that's obstructing government operations, and you need to stop doing what you're doing for free because we need to charge this homeowner $300, $400 for the service that we've already contracted. So I really do think that there are some unintended consequences here. Now, everybody in here are good people, and I don't think it would ever happen under this administration with everybody here. But 10, 15, 20 years from now, there's no guarantee that we have a Mayor Gittens or we have a Chief Campbell. And we may be struggling with leadership at that point. And do you want to give them something like this that does have or could have unintended consequences on the citizens? So that's something to think about before you vote on this. Thank you.
I believe when we start the abatement process, it can be stopped at any point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause I was going to say, if we were doing that, then I broke the law. Because I know I've gone and mowed someone's yard that couldn't, they just didn't have the ability to do it. And I believe the abatement process had started on them. And man, it was tall.
The abatement process just recovers whenever we file a nuisance abatement. The actual, the money that the city gets back from it is just to defray the cost to the taxpayer for us going out and having to clean up whatever the situation is on the property. So it's not really a revenue generating endeavor
Gotcha.
for the city.
And so we'll still, I mean, with this, we still offer the hearing. We just don't have to wait for a certain date.
Yeah, under due process, we have to provide opportunity for
Okay.
a hearing. So there's still an opportunity for a hearing. All this does is put the request for the opportunity on the property owner and or the tenant, so that we don't have to have a hearing if they don't want a hearing, is a way to think about it. Because as I said before, of all the hearings we had on this last year, there was no attendance from anyone to dispute the city's case on whether or not the condition constituted a nuisance under the vegetation ordinance. We have another general nuisance provision, and there was attendance on that. And this code doesn't do anything to change that requirement. There will be a mandatory hearing for those. All it does is on the vegetation matter, make that to where the property owner has to request it in order for us to have a hearing. So they're still having their due process rights protected. The opportunity to have the hearing is then placed on them to request it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, as long as our citizens aren't subject to what Mr. Sanders was talking about, I'm good with it. And the public hearing is still open, if you would like to speak on this. All right, I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Any questions?
I have a question. How does this apply to property that has been designated for construction purposes, like for subdivisions and things like that, that have not been made into subdivisions yet, that have, not in my neighborhood, that's been taken care of. But I'm thinking of Tracker in Maine, there's grass there that's 3-4 foot tall now.
There are separate standards for undeveloped property, and that would fall under that category until there was such develop or building occupied on that property. In those instances, we do work with the property owner for areas that are hard to maintain or such, or any other situations like that, to where as long as they have a set schedule as to how often or how frequent they're going to be mowing, we do try to work with them on that timeline, so that way it's not a burden on them to keep providing a manicured field out there when it's not necessarily for any purpose other than future construction. So we do try to work with the property owner as much as possible.
I was just curious, he has part of it mowed right around the street areas, which is nice. He's got some gravel on there, so I didn't know if that was a prohibitive thing for him to mow because he's got construction stuff on it, so just curious.
It's a case-by-case scenario in some situations.
Any other questions or discussion?
I think my question last time was about, you know, the why behind this, and Mr. Woodman answered it really well by saying that basically for every time we send out one of these citations or whatever, he has to prepare, or someone on our legal staff has to prepare for that hearing, whether that property owner comes to that hearing or not. We're still providing the resources and using resources that could be allocated somewhere else. So I think this is going to save some resources and money as well.
Agreed. Anything else? All right, nothing else. I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Graham, a second by Mr. Vess. He was a little faster. Roll call, please.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Zern Vess,
Yes.
Kelly Morris,
Yes.
Sean Lucas.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, next up, second reading Council Bill 2025-16.
Second reading Council Bill number 2025-16, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 1, Sections 2-175, 2-176, and 2-180 of the Nixa City Code to increase the various purchasing thresholds contained therein, presenting as City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening. Not quite the last one for me, but we're getting close. This is similar to the last two. We had first reading on this item at the last city council meeting and a staff presentation as well. And if approved, just as a quick summary, what this bill is trying to do is increase the current purchasing thresholds that are contained within the city code. What we're trying to target is that middle band of the current purchasing threshold, which we are hardly ever utilizing because the band is pretty narrow. What we're seeking to do is raise the threshold to where purchases that are going to be in excess of $20,000 we bring to the council to obtain that authorizing resolution. Between 10 and less than 20, we would just utilize the existing informal solicitation process. Staff recommends approval, and I'm available if there are any questions on that.
And just as a refresher, this is stuff that's already been approved for the budget. It just helps speed up the process a little bit because the cost of everything has gone up, and yet his threshold has not gone up to adapt to that. So it's just to keep things moving, because as we've seen, sometimes it is better to, if it's already planned, especially purchase it now than even waiting a month. The price on it could jump like crazy. I notice that every time I go to get gas. So, any questions for Mr. Woodman? Thank you, sir. No other questions, I will open up the public hearing if you would like to speak on this. And I will close the public hearing. Any other questions or discussion from council? Fair enough, I will accept a motion.
So made.
Second?
First by Mr. Lucas, second by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, please.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Zern Vess,
No.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
All right, next up, second reading, Council Bill 2025-17.
Second reading Council Bill number 2025-17, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the mayor to execute a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Transportation Enhancement Funds Settlement Agreement for the purpose of funding the Cheyenne Road Multi-Use Path Project. Presenting as Street Superintendent Jeff Russell.
Mayor, Council, good evening. In 2023, staff applied for and received a grant for the Cheyenne Trail Multi-Use Path. In this grant, this was only for the engineering portion of this project, as certain stipulations and criteria needed to be met before construction funds were eligible for this project. Staff and our engineering firm, Olson and Associates, have met this criteria, and we are now requesting permission to pass this ordinance so that the construction funding can be used for this project. We do have monies allocated in the 2025 budget for this project, and it is our recommendation to pass this ordinance so we can get started.
When do you estimate the start date if this was approved?
Depending on the review process from the state, most likely it'll be in July, maybe the 1st of August. They should start construction.
Do we have any concern about, as far as the time frame, like when construction will start during the day as far as school traffic, whenever school gets back into session?
There's adequate right-of-way in place, so all of the construction will be off the road. There shouldn't be any traffic concerns.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'm excited for this one. It's a long time coming. There's a lot of kids and parents that are going to be excited as well. All right, if no other questions, I will open up the public hearing if you'd like to speak on this. And I will close the public hearing. Any other questions or discussion from council? All right, if nothing else, I will accept a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
First by Mr. Vess, second by Ms. Graham. Roll call, please.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham,
Yes.
Zern Vess,
Yes.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, last on the list, Resolution 2025-29.
Resolution number 2025-29, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa consenting to the mayor's appointment of council member Zern Vess to the City Council's Appointments Committee, presenting as City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening. As you all know, we have a City Code Section 2-40, which establishes an Appointments Committee for the City Council. And its sole charge currently is to review the mayor's appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There's currently a vacancy on that committee, and the mayor has moved to appoint Mr. Zern Vess to this committee. If approved, this resolution would evidence council's consent to the mayor's appointment. Mayoral appointments have to be approved by the city council per charter, and so that's what this resolution would do. I'm available if there are any questions about this item, and staff recommends approval.
Any questions? I recommend approval as well, by the way.
Does Zern have any comments
All
on
right.
it?
It's so much fun.
If no other questions, I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Any other questions or comments from council?
I think Zern's got a lot on his plate already. I don't know if he's a good choice.
I'm a big old boy. eat a big plate.
He can handle
No,
plenty.
I appreciate it. I'd be honored to serve the city and help him pick out the planning and development.
You'll do well.
Awesome. All right. No other questions. I will accept a motion.
So made.
Second.
Ooh, she got you beat. First by Mr. Lucas, second by Mrs. Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right.
Welcome, Zern.
Yeah. Thank you for your willingness to serve, Mr. Vest. Couple things. Did we ever get anything back, Mr. Lyles, on the McCroskey Street CID?
Not yet, but working on that and hopefully to have you something by next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Also wanted to say thank you very much to everybody with the Nixa Chamber, all the city staff, Nixa Police Department that was involved in Sucker Days, and also everyone with Public Works that did,
Yes, thank you.
I don't even know what all you guys did, and I'm not sure I want to know, to get that whole area ready with power and blocking the roads and everything. It was another successful event, and it's definitely not something that can be done without all of you. So I greatly appreciate it. We just recently had our kickoff of the One Nixa, One Read. Saw that at the last meeting. It went over great, cooked a lot of hot dogs, had some help from some council members. Thank you guys for being there. It's always a fun time.
How many hot dogs did you have left over?
I don't remember. Maybe it was like 1.5 packages of cooked ones. So, no, not bad at all. And then also thank you for any of you who attended the grand opening of the Nixa Splash Pad. That was very exciting.
Fun.
That's fun.
Kids seemed to have a blast. Probably not going to be my hangout for the summer, but I'm sure everyone else will enjoy it. Any update on the shipping and stuff of the new tables and benches?
Supposedly sometime this week. So I don't have exact shipment. They said it should be late week. So
Cool.
hopefully by the end of the week, which would mean probably next week, we can get it.
Awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't trust any shipping information you provided anyway, because I've been waiting on a package for 2 months, so. Even that's not even right. So it went really well. Thank you guys for what you did. That was pretty cool. I'm trying to think. Anything from anyone else?
We do have the volunteer days coming up on June 7th.
Correct, we do have the volunteer day on June 7th. We'll be working on the gardens at Winfield again, and then that night is our first moves in the park of the year. So, big day.
Awesome.
I was handed some information earlier this evening. I haven't seen it come to my residence yet, but I'm pretty sure that most Spire residents have received this notice of a public hearing regarding a rate increase. And so if you are interested in learning more about that and speaking your mind about that, they will have a in-person public hearing. The closest one looks to be in Joplin on June 5th, but there also are some virtual public hearings as well. And there's also a phone number you can call to answer your questions on that.
That's a long way. Maybe we should do that. What do you think about that, Mr. Sanders? If I wanted public information, should I have a meeting in Joplin?
Yeah.
Sure. It is a considerable increase, so definitely pay attention. And thank you for bringing that up. I can't think of anything else. Thank you all very much for everything you do. Meeting adjourned.